announce the government's response to the drought, which is currently so severely affecting many farmers in Australia, but particularly in Western Queensland and Western New South Wales. As most of you would know, Barnaby and I were out in Western New South Wales and Western Queensland about 10 days ago, and the package that we announced today has been refined in response to what we learnt from that particular visit. Essentially, what we announced today involves 5 elements. Much easier access to income support for drought-hit farmers. It involves a greater quantum of money available in concessional loans to drought-hit farmers. It involves additional federal assistance to the states in their feral animal eradication programs, additional federal assistance to the states for water infrastructure grants for drought-hit farmers, and additional funding for existing programs to help people in personal crisis in drought-affected areas. The determination of this government is to stand by Australians in good times and in bad. We can't work miracles. There are no magic wands, but we will do what we can to help in difficult times, and plainly for quite a large number of farmers right now, these are very difficult times. Some areas are experiencing historically low rainfall levels, and while the best thing we can do is hope and pray for rain, obviously it's important for government to do what it can in the interim. The great thing about this particular package is that it is largely building on existing programs, but it's making them more responsive to the particular needs of farmers that are hit by drought. I want to thank the Minister, Barnaby Joyce, for the work that he's been doing. Basically, Barnaby has been looking at this issue since late last year. Almost the first acts that Barnaby took as the Agricultural Minister were to begin additional Commonwealth assistance for water infrastructure grants in conjunction with the states, and to begin the process of making the concessional loan program more usable to farmers in trouble. I should just finish on this point. Some of you might be inclined to say, well, this is a special deal for farmers. No. This is akin to a natural disaster, and state and federal governments have always stood by people wherever they are who have been hit by natural disaster. Some of you might be inclined to say, oh, this is a relaxed or super favourable social security regime for farmers. No, it's recognising that a farmer in trouble is in a very difficult situation, and in a rather different situation to most of us when we're in trouble, because if your farm is in dire drought, you can't sell, you can't borrow, you can't leave, but you've got no money. And that's why it's right and proper that you should have access to income support under slightly different arrangements to those that apply to the rest of us. And I think the Australian public get that. I think the Australian public get that. I think that people everywhere understand that you can't have cities without a countryside to sustain them. You don't grow food in your backyard, by and large. You need the countryside to grow our food, to supply our cities, and we appreciate that that's the great gift that country Australia gives to all of us. Barnaby?
Well, thank you very much, Prime Minister, and I'd like to thank you from the start. It's, as you all know in this room, you're lucky if you can get the Prime Minister for 5 minutes, and to have him on the road for 2 days was great, and it gave us the capacity to show you firsthand the people who we are dealing with. And as you know, we are dealing with people who are mums and dads, And this is why it's so humbling when you hear the vox pop that is taken around Central Station in Sydney, where people say, we get it, we understand it. These are mums and dads, these are people who have done their very best for as long as they can to deal with the issues from their own resources. But there comes a time in every person's basically their business or their life where you get to the end of your resources. And what we're looking at with these people is we're getting towards 2 years without income. And I don't think any reasonable person would say, well, 2 years without income is just something that is par for the course. It's not. And we're not dealing with people who are basically in an unviable business. The agricultural sector has a great future in front of it, and we can see that expressed in the price for live cattle as they move from the Port of Darwin at $2.30 a kilogram, for the price of wheat, which is in excess of $300 a tonne, for the price of cotton in excess of $500 a bale. What this clearly shows is it's an industry with a great future, but a government cares for its people, and it cares for its people, but it always relies on its people to look after themselves as much as they possibly can. This package has 3 essential parts. Obviously, the concessional loans at $280 million at 4% over a period of 5 years, where you can borrow $1 million or half of what you owe to the bank, whatever is the lesser. And the reason we do that is so that we're in partnership with the banks, and so we have proper credit control. And so with that, there is a sense that the Commonwealth is looking after the asset that it holds. It will be administered, those loans, with the state entities that are already doing a good job in this. And one of the advantages of this package is that we use the facilities that are already at our disposal. Queensland Rural Adjustment Authority, New South Wales Rural Adjustment Authority, Victorian Finance Corporation. We're already in this space and they are already dealing with these issues. The next part is to make sure we maintain the dignity of the house. The dignity of the house so that people can pay their chemist bill, keep their power on, keep their phone on. Because what we noted with the settings and the transitional farm family payment, that so many people were removed from that. And we went and I visited houses where they had no income at all, nothing, nor were they entitled to any income. And that's something that we should do our very best to make sure that we keep the dignity of those households that are so far removed from the side of the cities. The next part, it was great to discuss these with the Prime Minister, is dealing with such issues as wild dogs. There's not much point in feeding out sheep if onto the line come the sheep and the wild dogs, and the dogs eat the sheep. Now, some people might think, oh, that's perverse, or that's not the reality. Well, it is the reality. It's an absolute reality for so many people in these areas. So issues such as that have to be dealt with. Water infrastructure, so you can get greater coverage of pasture, is also vitally important, and it's been in a program that, in our first iteration of that, which was one of the first things that our government did, was so well received that people say this is an issue that is so important because it gives us the capacity to properly cover the area, so we don't have all the stock congregating around one watering point and therefore not getting the proper coverage. And also mental health. And even myself last night, I take calls all the time from people who feel that their position is dire. They are looking for someone to talk to, and if there's anything you do in this job, it's one of always remembering that you're a servant of the people, and when people ask for help, you do your very best to try and help them.